We really struggled at a point last year where we were getting more business and we couldn't have place to store it. So this is I would say, good problem to have, but a problem nonetheless. It actually prompted us to start thinking, should we get into the warehousing business in US just to protect our own business here in India? Right? Fortunately, we were able to find a great company that we could work with, and we didn't have to go down that path. But that was a serious question that we had to ask ourselves. And believe me, we've also asked, should we get into the trucking business in the US so that we can transport our own goods, right? So these are all questions that we get to ask, we get to analyze, and these were not questions we would have ever asked 3 years ago. But I would like to end on the last slide by talking about what is our approach, right? I think many of what I've talked about are things that you might be aware of, right? Things where you would have read it in the newspapers, all of that, right? So I thought, what value can I bring here is to talk about how we are going about it, right? So the first thing that we're looking at is how do we overcome a potential recession or a potential cyclicality, seasonality that's there in the businesses. So the first thing that we are looking at is diversification, right? How do we diversify, right? We look at how do we improve on geographies. Today, 25% of our revenue, 26% of our revenue in the first half of the year came from export, right? This is something that's again important. This is a number that we believe will continue to grow as we go forward. How do we look at market segments? So whether it's domestic or export or any other geography, are we only in one segment that could get hit by a certain impact that might be there, right? Which might be governmental regulations, it could be a variety of other things, not necessarily just a recession. And about manufacturing location. You might get a power cut in one state, another state might have a power surplus. So having some amount of flexibility and some amount of diversification of being in more than one state, in more than one location, is certainly something that that we are working on, we are thinking of, and we have manufacturing now in 2 states. Now, the next thing that we're thinking about is increase in flexibility, right? How do we increase our flexibility? So, what I mean by flexibility is when the market goes up, can you capture that business? And when the market comes down, can you tamp down on cost? Right? This is really the reality of what I mean by the quick ramp up and ramp down cycle. Now, what we have found and what our approach that we are taking is that when things go down, it's a lot easier to cut cost and manage things. But when things go up suddenly, you're short on labor, trained personnel, and all of that. So we believe that automation, even if we add fixed costs, we want to try to reduce the complexity in our product, in our process, and automate more so that our ability to switch on, switch off is better. Now, I'll be honest, this goes exactly contrary to everything I've been told. When you're in a volatile situation, you want to maximize variable cost, you want to minimize fixed cost. But in reality, we're doing the opposite. So please pardon me for doing the exact opposite of whatever my professors taught me in class, right? The next one is the model mix change. Sometimes we see tractors are doing well, sometimes we see trucks are doing well, sometimes we see even within trucks, the haulage trucks are doing well, sometimes we see tippers are doing well. The more rigid we are in terms of manufacturing, saying that this is only made, this is the products we can make here and nothing else, the more rigid we get, the worse off we are in managing these model mix changes. We may have capacity, but we may have the wrong type of capacity. The next one is the locational flexibility. So, like I said, multiple plants, we operate 3 plants. The question is, what is the possible probability that one of the plant doesn't have enough order and the other 2 plants don't have enough capacity? So we have built a system in such a way that we have certain high volume products that are running across all 3 plants. So we can manage this flow. Right? So this is what we're trying to do. The next one is preparing for growth. I believe, and I hope all of you believe, this is the decade of India. I believe manufacturing is going to lead it. I believe we are going to be a significant player as a company. We are going to be a significant player in the world of iron castings. And so we need to start thinking like the company we want to be rather than the company we are. And that has been, adding people with skill, adding management, and adding capability and bandwidth beyond what we need today, but certainly what we would need for a year from now. So in addition to that, as we grow, we require a team of highly trained, skilled people. And we're now building that ability to take in somebody who's a fresh engineering graduate, who might be a diploma pass, diploma fail, whatever it is, and put in a training program that when they walk out onto the floor on day 1, they don't need baby gloves, right? They are able to handle themselves and they've been trained. So this is something that's a work in progress, but this is something that we are dedicating a lot of our resources towards. The next one is inventory management. I think inventory management goes hand in hand with flexibility. The more inventory you have, the less flexible you are. But inventory for us, everywhere in the world, right? Inventory is actually more of a symptom than the disease. The symptom is we don't believe in that we can do the same thing every day with the same efficiency or better efficiency, and therefore inventories are buffer. That is where we are hiding our inefficiencies. So the better we get at exposing our inefficiencies and fixing them, the better we can get at our inventory management. And the better we get at our inventory management, the less problems of obsolescence. Rather than making what the customer needed yesterday, you are making what the customer needs today. So I think this is something that's quite important. The next one is about building scalability. And I use the word standardize, standardize, standardize. Right? So I think when we think about manufacturing, in a lot of cases, scalability is something that's a very, very difficult topic and subject to talk about in manufacturing. How do I grow a company that's been, in our case, we've been in production for 37 years now. And we have an ambition that we want to go 25% year over year or 30% year over year for the next 5 years. This is not small numbers, right? We're talking about a few years down the road, we're talking about growing at the rate of 1,000 crores a year of turnover, when last year we didn't even do 1,000 crores of turnover, right? That is really, the type of situation of what we would like to dare to dream about, right? If we're daring to dream about it, we should have an action plan behind it. So we believe that standardization is going to be the key. The ability to utilize the same tools, the ability to utilize the same trained manpower, the similar equipment, all of this is something that's going to give us an edge as we look to grow. If we want to build another plant, or another plant, or another plant, or build 2 plants at the same time, the ability to ramp up those plants becomes very important. The other part is about leveraging technology. If you want to run a plant that is located in Delhi, somewhere in rural Punjab, somewhere in the eastern part of India, or the western part of India, the amount of management bandwidth that is required today is tremendous. How can we leverage the ability that we have with technology to reduce that? I'm talking about Industry 4.0, real practical applications of Industry 4.0, of understanding and helping the people on the shop floor understand what might be wrong with the equipment before it goes wrong, right? AI and ML, there's a small project that we've just taken on with a video camera. The video camera is looking at a person, right? And we train the video camera for a few days. So the video camera looks at it and automatically, through artificial intelligence, determines what the person is doing versus, to be most optimal and ideal, what the person should be doing. And right then and there can actually give information, says, start doing this now, or do this now, or stop doing this now, reduce the amount of power you're utilizing. Whatever other necessary prescriptions, it can do that live, rather than doing a post-mortem analysis several days later or a month later, saying why was our energy cost more, or why was our efficiency more. And I think the last thing that we're looking at is strengthening our customer relationships, which is of course extremely important. And we're looking at this, the more volatility is to understand the various cost elements that we have associated with each product, understand them better, and how each amount of this volatility impacts us, and how can we build better cost models with our customers that will ensure that we can recover the costs. At the same time, we want to be the preferred supplier for the introduction of new products. So once we get our foot in the door, we want to bang the door open and we want to run through it. So these are some of the approaches that we've been taking in our effort and our attempt to try to manage this kind of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and sorry, I forgot what the ambiguity is. Sorry, I was just checking that everybody knew. So this is how we have approached it, and I hope you have enjoyed what I've had to share. I've tried to be more personal in terms of talking about how we are looking at it and how we are approaching it, rather than try to be general about knowledge about the industry, which I'm sure you all have, and in more decades than I do. So I just want to end by saying thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Mr. Deepak. That was a very impactful, delivery on what you have been doing. My request, our senior member, CMS Srinivasan ji, to come and deliver the vote of thanks of this session.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. About this conference. For commencing my own thanks, I usually, the post-meeting sessions are always sleepy sessions. But our speakers people have kept their entire audience at the almost one of them I have seen, honestly. And an excellent presentation. I was also in the steel industry almost for 15 years. I would really appreciate his concerns about the uncertainties, ups and downs in the steel industry, and the way he has been tackling this. The presentation was excellent. Mr. Ganapathisubramanian, apart from the fact that he is my cousin, he was my guru, mentor, role model, everything. I would say he is considered the Bhishma Pitamaha of the profession, and I would say almost 10% of the senior members of the profession today, not only in South India, but in the whole of India, are the students. It's a fact. And he is held in very high esteem with the entire Rashtrakuta community. I have seen the way he described the difficulties in the steel industry. I was part of it, and I have faced the difficulties also. And the way he explained the role and the difficulties are excellent. I would thank Mr. Deepak for the excellent presentation. And Mr. son and daughter are present here. Before closing, I would like to just add one small anecdote regarding management accounting. Early in my career, I had occasion to confront a belligerent trade union leader, which was having negotiations. I heard some statements, management accounting statements